It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's Karting today and head over to joeskarting.com for hours of operation. Make sure you like their Facebook page to see what time they are open today. I did see Quaker Steak & Lube has decided to close for today. They're going to take the day off and give their employees a bit of a break. So no Quaker Steak & Lube today, which is just, it's okay because there's no race to go and watch today.
Well, and they don't serve pig wings, so, we're good.
They usually do a nice buffet, but I think they've just decided, you know what, we're open every holiday. We make the employees work every holiday. Let's take one off.
They gave kids out. They gave some Easter baskets out, I know, here this last week. So.
Yeah, that was really cool. And it was that Monday for Kids Night. It was 99-cent cruiser meals and then
free entry in the contest.
Yep,
they gave away 3 baskets. I saw that on Facebook. So.
A lot of cool stuff. You get your picture taken with the Easter Bunny as they always do over Quaker Steak & Lube. But yeah, you did. You didn't get your picture taken. Let's preview today's show. Going to be joining us in turn number 2, the Bade Brigade. The Bade sisters are going to be joining us to talk about their 2017 season. In turn number 3, Chad Robb, Mr. Fantasy, joins us. And we're going to kind of wrap for about a half an hour. About turns 3 and some of turn 4, we're going to kind of talk about some of the our thoughts on the first 7 races of 2017. The implementation of the new aero package, the stage racing, the rookies being very dominant so far in the beginning of the season. Some teams that we've seen struggle over the last 5-6 years are doing well this year. So we'll talk about a lot of the different things we've seen in the first 7 races. And then in turn number 4, if we have some time left, we'll talk about some of the news and notes that have come out this week of the NASCAR headlines, including the All-Star race, the multiple tires. Could harder and softer tires be common in 2018? It sounds like NASCAR is taking a look at that, as well as taking a look at not counting the caution laps between the stage racing, they've been listening to our show again, Dirk.
Evidently, because like I said, they don't count pace laps, which is technically what they are. They're getting lined up for the next segment. They don't count up at the beginning of the race. Why would they count them in the middle of the race? They just don't need to count them. And when we go to Kansas, that will be discussed with, I'm going to try and get in with Jim Cassidy, who I've known now for several years, and point that out to him.
We'll talk about that in turn number 4 and so much more coming up on today's show. Turn number 1, let's recap Texas. Dirk, you and I were talking on Saturday before the race that it was starting to look like it was going to be a rough Sunday Cup Series race because the Xfinity race was pretty single file.
Yeah, there was like a lane and a half, and that was just because some guys couldn't get their car all the way down to the bottom, so they had some rubber built in. But there was nothing outside of that. Yeah. There was no high groove. Texas is usually right up to the wall. You got Dale and Kyle Larson and some of those guys run right up there. But there was nothing there. And if you watch the race on Saturday with the Xfinity Series, it killed Brendan Gaughan because he's a rim rider down there at Texas. And, that guy won 4 races in a row in the Truck Series at Texas. He swept 2 seasons. So he knows how to get around the place, but he couldn't figure out that bottom line, and that's all there was.
NASCAR knew there was going to be a problem. They've been doing this long enough. They knew that a repave is going to be an issue. Something they tried different this year. In typical repaves, they'll run the tire machine on the bottom groove, but they've learned over the last couple of years and over the last couple of repaves that have happened in the circuit that bottom groove is going to get rubbered in during practice anyways. So instead, they focused on the second groove, the second lane of cars, and ran the tire machine on that, ran the Xfinity race on that, and then ran all the practices so that tried to move that groove up. And I think it helped. To say it helped says that, and what I mean by that is that we didn't have a single groove track with about a groove and a half. We had a little bit more. It helped a little bit, and so it kind of progressed that line just a little bit more.
Well, it really didn't help the competition because you saw it on every restart, that outside line. The guy could get into the corner, and because he gets a better angle from that outside line, but when he couldn't get to the bottom, and if he couldn't beat the guy into the corner enough to drop down in front of him, he was, going backwards. I mean, that last restart where Truex go from outside the front row to 11th, 12th place or something like that. He got freight lined in 2 laps. The bottom just had so much more grip, and yeah, like I said, we were talking about it Saturday because it was very apparent to me watching that was going to, make for, what could have been a little bit better racing if they had that worked in a little better. But at Texas, normally, again, it's not the second groove. It's not just one car length off the bottom. It's clear up towards the top is where that second groove normally is, like you see at Charlotte and such. But, and I don't think they tried anything up there. All that was up there was marbles. And when you saw somebody get up there, they slapped the wall.
Yeah, and it's going to take quite a few races to work back up to where it was before they had to repave and redesign this track.
Absolutely.
And I said have to because they didn't choose to repave it after what happened last fall when the rainwater just soaked into the track and then kept seeping up as they were trying to dry it off. They were forced to repave that track.
Yeah, they've had the rainwater problems ever since the very first race at that speedway back there almost about 20 years ago now. It was the late 90s somewhere when they started, and they had that issue. So, the fact that they tore it up and, didn't get to find out if it's fixed, didn't have a big rain or anything like that, I'm pretty confident that they did fix it. Otherwise, they wasted a whole bunch of money.
Winner on the day, 7th time he takes the checkered flag at Texas Motor Speedway. That's Jimmy Johnson. Kyle Larson, again, runner-up. Good car, another 5 laps. He had a fast car, but, boy, that aero push was predominant Sunday, and it was tough for second place to get past the leader.
Well, and he didn't even get caught up to where he really had a chance to win, If I mean, he was coming at the end. He was faster, so if there'd have been another 10 laps, he might have had a shot, but
Logano, who stayed out, had some had some staying out strategy going on. He stayed out and then got lucky just after he came in. I think it was about 6-7 laps after he came in, got his final change. The caution came out, so everybody else came in, and he got to stay out as the leader, and he was able to lead several laps. Inevitably, Jimmy Johnson gets by him. So does Kyle Larson. Logano finishes in 3rd. Kevin Harvick 4th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 5th. Rounding out your top 10, Brad Keselowski, Jamie McMurray, Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, and Kurt Busch. A day that is not, or a finish that is not indicative of the day. Ryan Blaney, very good car, very fast car, had the luxury of being on that outside lane and then just somehow able to get past Kevin Harvick on the initial restart, and he didn't let go from there.
The initial start.
I do that all the time, the initial start of the race. And so, Blaney had a very good, but what a good run he is having the beginning of this season. He's another one of those rookies that we're going to have to talk about because not only is he a rookie, but it's the first time the Wood brothers are back into the Cup Series for a full time.
Except he's not a rookie. That was last year.
You're right. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right.
Sophomore season, but he's, him or Elliott, neither one of them's having a sophomore jinx, which is what everybody was worried about.
I guess this is the second full-time season for Wood brothers, isn't it? Because it was last year was their first time. But still, I mean, they've got the cooperation with Team Penske, so that's helping them out a little bit. Running Fords, which are doing a little bit better this year. Toyota seems to be struggling as they, unlike last year at this time when I think they'd won pretty much every one of the races.
Well, the top 5 in the field were Fords.
Yeah. And then bad days for Casey Kane, Paul Menard, Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon, right off the bat, out on the warm-up laps, and a track bar mount broke. I'm not a big fan of Austin Dillon. I think he's a little bit of... well, I guess I don't need to give my opinion because we're trying to be nice people. I don't care for Austin Dillon's tone.
He's a little bit of a diva.
He is. I don't care for his tone on the radio with his team and the way he treats some of his team. But to be honest with you, they've had alternator issues. They've had battery issues. They've had just issues that clearly checklists are not being finished. And things that are just they're real simple stuff that a professional sports team should not be dealing with.
Alternator and battery, they're electrical. I mean, when you turn on the light in your bedroom, it just goes out. It doesn't flash 5 times and say, hey, I've only got 3 more times. I'm going to light up.
Yeah.
When electrical goes, it goes. The 31, his teammate, was having the same type of issues with the electrical stuff. So those you really can't do anything about. But a track bar mount breaking is definitely an odd deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Denny Hamlin finished 25th. He had a rough day. Eric Jones, another 22nd.
Casey Kane had been running in the top 5 part of the race and definitely had a top 10 car. And, he broke. So
rough days for him. The way the stages finished, Ryan Blaney won both of them. Truex came home second in stage 1. And you can check out the full race report off jski.com or get it off the NASCAR. But, all in all, it wasn't a bad first race at Texas.
No,
I don't think.
no, not at all.
I think it turned out to be good. And like you said, Dirk, earlier when we were texting back and forth this week, it'd have been a great race to be at.
Oh, yeah. And there was plenty of seats. You could have sat where you wanted.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back in turn number 2. I'm going to sit down with the Bade sisters and talk about their 2016 season. And then turns 3 and 4, Chad Robb, Mr. Fantasy, will join us to talk about the couple of topics. We're each going to pick a couple of things that we've noticed and we want to make sure and focus on for these after the first 7 races of the year. And then in turn number 4, we're going to finish up that conversation and then talk about some of the news headlines and some of the things that could be coming for 2018. We're going to take a break. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
The NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series is headed back to Topeka. Feel the power that calls the senses with 10,000 horsepower at speeds over 330 miles per hour. Every ticket's a pit pass at the Menards NHRA Heartland Nationals, presented by Minties, May 19th through 21st at Heartland Park, Topeka. Kids 12 and under are free in general admission. Get tickets early and save at nhra.com/tickets or call 800-884-NHRA. Ignite your senses.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shayle, Bade, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 2, brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets for the Toyota Tundra 250 Truck Series race on Friday, May 12th, and the Go Bowling 400 Cup Series race Saturday, May 13th at Kansas Speedway are available now. Call 866-460-RACE or go to kansasspeedway.com. We talked to Pat Warren last weekend about some premium parking that's available. You can find all that information, again, 866-460-RACE or by going to kansasspeedway.com. Joining us in the studio is the Bade Brigade. We're talking with Shayle, Chantel, and Mariah.
Mariah.
Oh, Mariah.
Told you he'd do it.
Didn't take long, did it, guys?
Nope, it's okay.
Dirk sounds a little bit weird now because we've recorded on 2 different days. We talked about turns 1, 3, and 4. We recorded on Wednesday, and Dirk was in the studio, and then he decided to fly United, which, by the way, he survived, over to Chicago to do a little bit of work, and so he's on the phone. So in turns 3 and 4, which you'll hear coming up here in a little bit, he'll be back in the studio. So this is kind of the fun of recording your show in advance. But we're here to talk about the Bade sisters. Shayle, you're the driver of the 03, Race Saver 305, and 360 throughout the Midwest. Chantel, what are you driving? Is it a hobby stock or a stock?
Hobby stock.
Do you have a car number yet?
02.
Okay. Why the 02? Is it just one? Because you're the second in line, or?
Nope. Mariah called dibs on 04. Shayle was 03, so my option was 02, and that's what I went with.
Well, and our cousin is 01,
Okay.
who raced with us. So now it's
Yeah,
01,
so
02,
it
03,
works.
04.
Okay. And Mariah, are you younger or older than?
Older.
Older? Okay, so that's why you got the 04. Well,
I just kind of picked
you
it.
just kind of
She
jumped
really-
in there. Okay.
She
I
didn't
didn't
know
really
what
care.
number she wanted, and so I was like, I want 04. So
Yeah.
And Shayle, why the 03?
Dad asked me one day what number I want to be when I was 8 years old and I started go-karts. And, I looked at him and I was like, I really don't know, Dad. He's like, well, what about 3? Because, Earnhardt. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And he's like, well, how about we put our own twist and do 03? So 03 is what it's been.
And I wanted to have all 3 of you in the studio because I find it fascinating that, Shayle, you started the whole thing with the racing and your dad talking to you into doing karts, and you've upgraded. And now you've gotten your younger sisters involved in it. But it's also fascinating for me to watch because Chantel and Mariah are both trying to start your own race operations, but still helping Shayle with everything that she does. So I kind of wanted to get your guys' conversation as far as your roles in Shayle's operation and then expanding into your own and trying to do both of them at the same time, because it's got to be tough.
yeah, it's not as hard as you would think. So pretty much after a race day, we'll all collectively go to Shayle's trailer, which is where all 3 of us sign autographs, which Shayle's line's usually quite a bit longer. so when ours dies down, we'll go back and we'll help our mom do T-shirts and decals and everything you can imagine
All the
that Shayle
merchandise.
does. Yeah. And so we just kind of split it between signing cards and
Pictures.
selling her merchandise. Yep, taking pictures.
If you're ever in the pits at Eagle or I-80 or throughout the area, I know you're hitting up several different races this year. You're with the Sprint Series in Nebraska, weekly at Eagle, and then you're also going to hit up some 360 races for Shayle. If you ever get an opportunity, like I did this last year, I went down into the pits after the races were over with, and Dirk, I think I was getting your T-shirt from when Shayle was on the air with us last year. And I just watched the whole operation, and to say that you have a support team that's helping you is really understating it. I mean, it's a support organization. I mean, it's insane how well run it is, and I likened it to a fast food restaurant, like at a diner. When the waitress is calling out, need 2 flapjacks and pieces of pig, and then you hear the cook back there clanking and slinging away, and then the plate comes flying. I mean, that's like what your operation looked like. It was pretty fun to watch.
I'm glad it was fun to watch. It does get chaotic at times, but we got a pretty good system going on, and it seems to work. I mean, we kind of have people in designated areas, so they all kind of know their job, and they're good at their job, so therefore we can get merchandise out and autograph signs. So that way people aren't waiting in line for, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I would think the biggest thing that all the fans are wanting is a picture with Smokey Bacon.
Yes.
She is the hot one.
Is that kind of tough to be upstaged by the pig?
It is. It's always like, oh, how Smokey. I'm like, hi, Shayle. I'm doing great. Smokey's good too.
I'm the one that actually drove the car tonight.
Yeah. Smokey's great though.
The pig just ate. That's all the pig did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and for anybody who doesn't know, Smokey the Bacon is Shaylee's pet pig. That it started out as this little handheld piglet, and this thing has gotten huge. I thought my cat was big, but
she was supposed to be guaranteed 45 pounds, no bigger than 45.
Which we all told her was not going to happen, was not realistic, but Shayle insisted.
And we're at 107.
oh my gosh, where's Smokey at tonight? Usually, you brought her into the station one night, but and she wasn't in the pits at I-80. Is everything okay?
No, she came to the pits on Saturday. She
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
there on Friday because I didn't have time to grab her from work. But Saturday, we ended up going to Eagle before for the girls' first practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then after practice, we spent the remainder of the day out at I-80.
Okay.
So therefore, she got out and got to interact. I didn't want her locked up all day.
That's good.
So she got some out time.
Yeah, and I got to go to that practice at Eagle on the Saturday of what was it, a couple of weeks ago, and you were running your hobby stock, which is just a jet black car at that time, right?
That was
That's
mine.
Mariah.
Oh, that was
Hers
yours.
is silver.
Okay.
I'm gray.
Sorry.
And
Gray.
what are you? Are you? What's your plans for that? Is it just going to stay that color with some numbers on it?
Well, we have stickers in the shop right now, trying to figure out how we're going to get them on the car.
Okay.
They're a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
So we have it all. Hopefully we're going to go home tonight and get it all stuck on there and have it ready for tomorrow.
She does have one number on. We have
Yes.
one
Okay.
number.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
mine is done.
And I only say that because yes, that I like that. She's got a picture of it. You've got that on Facebook, right?
Yes.
Okay,
It's on
yeah.
my racing page.
I'll try to share it for Sunday morning so people can see it. But I like the simple black cars. I love, and especially that matte black. I love that look.
You're gonna hate mine.
It looks absolutely gorgeous. And
and
it's
then
okay. And then she's
I'm
gonna
the
pull a picture.
complex one.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Lots of.
That's not going to look bad, though. I think that's going to be easy to stand out. Now, I'm a little selfish, and from the announcer's booth, I like easy to read contrasting letters between the base paint and the letter and the numbers. And you'd be surprised how many people have same shade colors as the two. And so it's really
Yes.
hard to see, especially at I-80 when I've got
When you're so far from the track.
it's a
It is
long
really
ways
hard
away to see that. So I like the paint schemes on your car. I'll okay that one,
Okay.
Chantel,
Okay.
but you got it.
The numbers
you.
are huge.
Yeah.
It's like the whole side. So
And you need
That
we
helps.
shouldn't have problems seeing the 0-2.
So let's go through the three girls and talk about your plans for this year. Shayle, I know that we talked about it a little bit earlier. You're going to race the Sprint Series in Nebraska, Race Saver 305 schedule that Roger Hayden puts together. You're also going to race weekly at Eagle Raceway, and then you're going to hit some 360 schedules.
Yep, we're going to try to hit as many 360 shows as we can. We can make, not conflicting with the Sprint Series of Nebraska or Eagle Raceway, we can make 20 360 shows, but we're going to have to travel on a lot of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is going to be kind of hard with everybody working and everybody getting off work. So realistically, we're probably going to make 8 to 10 if we're lucky, but most likely make about 8 360 shows, which is good, you know.
That's a good start for your first year.
Exactly.
I know you tried to race a 360 last year and it just didn't really work out too well. You'd had some issues with the engine and the car you'd rented. This year, you've decided we're stepping up to the table, and you bought Billy Alley's old car and old setup.
Yep, we bought them in pieces. They weren't selling them as a full roller together, so we bought the car first, and we had all intentions of putting a 360 motor in it since this car's already 360 ready. It's got, you know, the best stuff for a 360, and when you're turning that much horsepower and everything, you're going to need stronger bolts here and there.
Right.
So we knew we were going to put a 360 in it. We just didn't know when. And so we ended up getting the motor from Billy. So we put that in and had our first run at I-80, which went really well, better than we all kind of figured. So that definitely spiked my dad's interest into doing more 360 shows. I'm trying to talk him into cutting out some 305 shows and adding some 360 shows since our first race did go so well. But that's still in the air. He wants to do the first Sprint Series Nebraska, see how we finish in points. If we're nowhere to be close in the running with points, then we're definitely going to go more 360s. But if we're up there and we're competitive with those guys, then we're going to finish out the series.
Well, I think you did really well at the opener for the Nebraska 360s. There was a lot of heavy hitters in the house that night, and you were able to go out there and get in the last chance qualifier into the B feature, and you went out there and won that thing by 6 seconds. I can't remember the exact. I mean, you were a ways in front of everybody else, and then went out and held your own during the A feature.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, and especially having all those guys out there with so much more seat time than me. I mean, not even just a few laps. They have thousands of 360 laps. They know their whole program up and down and sideways, and we're just getting into it. So just being competitive with those guys and being behind them and following them and figuring everything out was really helpful for our first race. And I really liked racing out at I-80 for the first show because I-80 is such a big track.
Yeah.
You have so much time to figure out if you're going to go low or high or what's this guy going to do in front of you. You just have so much time and so much room, which was a lot better for me, especially in a car I've never drove before. I've never been in an Eagle chassis, and then I've never been in a 360. And I've only raced I-80 a handful of times. So it was a good time all the way around, though.
Yeah.
And when you bought all the equipment from Billy, did you go ahead and just buy his shock package, or did you get a custom shock package set up for the car?
He gave us his shock package, and then we also kind of have our own. So right now we're not using his because Dad doesn't want to use his. He wants to use what we are already familiar with and what I like and what I'm pretty much adjusted to. And then if his crew guys or Billy ever comes out and helps us set up with his shocks, then we're more than happy to use them and try them out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. We at least ought to try them because they might be better than what you're running. You might say, hey, why didn't I do this sooner?
Right, and technically they're supposed to be better than what we have already on the car, but when you don't know how to work them,
you're just more familiar with what you have.
Right, and that's what we were just kind of starting with, like all of our basics. That way I can get comfortable with everything and then move on from there.
Chantel driving the 04 hobby stock, right?
02.
Dang it. Mariah's the 04. I got a lot of editing to do in this interview. This is going to be all night long in the editing room. All right. Your plans for this year, are you points racing at Eagle, and that's going to be your little world, or are you going to kind of expand out a little bit?
I've been trying to talk Dad into letting me race at I-80 a few times, but that's not getting too far. So I think we're going to stick with Eagle and run points out of Eagle, hopefully get competitive there, and if I'm lucky, race a couple at I-80.
I'm hearing a common theme of trying to talk Dad into.
Yes.
Now, if I know anything about girls, it's that you guys are the daughters of the family know how to work Dad.
It just takes some time.
Who's better at working Dad?
Okay, you see where the eyes are pointing? And they're all pointing over here.
See, my brother and sister knew I was better at working Mom, and so whenever we wanted to get anything, they'd always have me go ask her because I was the baby of the family, and Mom never said no to me. So, Shayle, you kind of get the okay for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, more so.
That's funny. That's great. That's great.
But
It's a lot of work. I mean, you got 3 girls racing, and
Yeah.
you all want to race at the same track. And if like they do want to race I-80, which I mean, really, it sounds really great, but you got 3 trucks, 3 trailers, 3 pit stall spots,
Well, you
3
wouldn't.
cars. You know, it's just a lot of work getting everybody ready, and then their gears need to be changed for I-80, which is one of the big things. I mean, you can't just pull the gear out and put another one in. It's really not that simple.
Can you change stuff on the car yet, or are you still getting familiarized with it?
They've taught me. I've learned a few things, not the gear yet. I can see it and I know where everything goes, like what's happening when it, but I don't think I could do it yet.
You don't trust
And,
yourself.
yeah.
You can do it. You just don't trust
I don't-
yourself.
Yeah.
I mean,
But-
we've watched him, but I don't think we've ever really been like
Hands-on.
taught and then had someone watch us do it.
Because that might be a good way to get it your way is say, hey, I'll change the gear on Saturday
I tried
morning.
We
that.
tried
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
We even found a guy that would change them for us and then change them back so we could race at Eagle.
Yeah. I think he's afraid we're going to like the bigger track better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from my perspective, anything I try to do in life, I was told this a long time ago when I first started in the radio. You're never going to get good at anything if you only do it once a week. You've
Right.
got to do it. And I've heard drivers talk about it. Dirk's talked about it. Joe Koziski's talked about it. You got to race 3 or 4 times a week. I know it's expensive, and that's a tough deal, but you got to race that many times because you just can't get used to something when you're only running 10 heat races or 10 laps on your heat races, and then probably a 15 or 20 lap feature.
And that's where me and Mariah had our problem last year with alternating one car because with rainouts and if we crashed, we just didn't get nearly enough seat time to get to where we felt comfortable and knew we're completely different driving styles.
Yeah.
So our Vinny is the guy that does our
Setup
setup car. He's just awesome. And he knew exactly what to do for each of us. So every weekend we'd have to switch it off because 2 completely different driving styles. So
Well, it's the same argument that people talk about with dual running backs in the NFL is that the offensive line gets used to one of them, and then they got to switch it up to the other one. It's just way too much to learn.
Right.
So now you guys have 2 separate cars to run.
yes.
Both running hobbies, though.
Yes.
I like that class. That's one of my favorite classes, and it's a challenging class out of I-80 because you got to find it's tough to get around people in those hobby stocks.
It's definitely going to take a little bit, I think, to get comfortable and where we feel like we can really get up there. But I think we're going to be a lot better this year than we
your
think.
previous year,
And then we think, too.
Okay, and Mariah, you're in the 04
Yes.
hobby stock. Your name is Mariah.
Yes.
I think I've finally
Very
gotten all
good
of it
job.
right. I'm learning. I'm going to have to edit that out, too.
Please keep it.
Yeah, come on. Come on.
Oh, it's been tough today. It's 83 today, and I'm stuck in a studio and stuck behind a cubicle all day long, pretty much staring at Facebook, waiting for the interview so I can get out of here. I'm going to enjoy maybe a half an hour of outside time, but then it's back inside. So I think my body is just revolting against itself. Mariah, let's talk about let's talk about your year. It's going to be very close to Chantel's.
Yes, very similar. I'll pretty much just be out at Eagle. I will be missing 2 points races, which I'm already sad about, but I'm doing a study abroad mission trip through my school to Peru.
Okay, good enough reason.
Yes, so I mean, it's very bittersweet because I am very sad, kind of hoping for a rain out on one of them that I'm gone, but I'm also going to be having like a great adventure. So
Well, I'm going to have to talk to you about Peru because I've always wanted to go down there.
okay.
That would be it's one of my fantasies to go down into South America and go explore that stuff.
Yeah, it's super cool. We're going to a lot of different places too, so it's going to be
And it's a
gonna be
mission,
really
right?
Fun. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, we're helping children at a school that don't have like the necessary resources that they need. So we're going to be packing backpacks, I believe.
We got a lot of that in
is
America.
what we're doing.
If you want to take a mission to maybe Detroit, Flint, Michigan, they don't have water. I shouldn't make a joke about that. Peru's that'd be a great experience for you. Tip: don't fly United.
Nope, we are not.
Although I bet you could get some pretty cheap tickets right now.
I
if you
think
do
we
fly
could too.
United, if you do fly United, don't go first class, don't go economy, go Fight Club.
Go Fight Club.
You guys can all take kickboxing lessons ahead of time and really get the skills down and fight for your right, as they say.
Yes.
All right. Mariah's in the 04 hobby stock. Chantel's in the 02 hobby stock. Both racing weekly at Eagle Raceway. Still trying to work on Papa Bade to get over to I-80 Speedway once in a while and do some racing. Shayle, you've got a busy schedule ahead of you. In all, how many nights do you have on your schedule?
I have about 45 or so.
Okay. That's a good start. That's good. We'll see about next year, maybe doubling that.
Yeah, definitely.
What about sponsorships? I know that, Shayle, you've gone out and gotten some sponsorships. Chantel and Mariah, have you guys worked on that too? Are you bringing sponsorships to the group, or is that something you're getting into?
We're getting into it, but we kind of failed miserably.
It's tough.
Yes, and so I think our problem was we would ask Shayle questions here and there, but really we need her full on, like, take us through how to talk to sponsors and like what to say, what questions they're gonna ask. Because, I mean, we had no idea. We have a letter, and I mean, we put it out on Facebook and we emailed some people, but going face to face, we were a little terrified on what they were gonna want to know.
Yeah.
And so I think Shayle's
It's
gonna have
hard.
to. Yeah.
It's scary. It's kind of scary too.
Some, though.
Yeah,
we're
get
gonna
there.
get some.
Okay.
We got
some
a couple.
guidance and
we got
a
couple.
shove.
All right. Well, there's a lot of people out there that can help you. I know that Chris Krug tries to help out with sponsorship tips and tricks to the trades and that kind of stuff. And so I'd be glad to help you guys out. I deal with sponsorships every day of the week.
We
It's
could use any
fun.
help.
Yes. We'll take
Any help we can get. We'll take.
Do you guys package yourself together as sponsor all three of us? Is that an option for a sponsor?
I've put that out there.
We talked about it.
We kind of packaged ourselves is what happened.
It kind of turned into me and Mariah and then Shayle.
Yeah, because when we talked about it, so
It
this is where it got messy though. Is when Shayle talked about getting sponsors. Her sponsors would be put on both of our cars, but then if we got sponsors, we weren't sure if theirs would be on Shayle's car.
Okay.
So it was like hers would be in two classes and ours would be in one. So that's kind of where we were like, well, you know, two hobby stocks. We're both in the same class. We can, you know, and we both have no idea what we're doing when it comes to getting sponsors. So we could kind of learn together. So that's kind of
just bat the eyes.
yes,
Yes,
that's what.
Basically, treat them like dad. Just please
We really need it.
don't make me bring Shayle in here.
Yes.
The big bad Shayle.
Yeah.
We're gonna get some.
Just remind them how much press time you'll get if you guys get into a brawl on the track, you know, a girl fight.
yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah, that'd be
Oh,
great.
I don't think Dad would let us back at the track.
Nope.
That would be it.
Yeah, he's pretty
Once we
firm on having us like be really good sportsmanship. So even if we had a really bad day, biggest thing is put a smile on. Don't throw your gear. We are not allowed to throw our gear.
So don't take a lesson from the Kurt Busch book of
Yes,
how to treat the
Definitely
sponsors.
not.
Okay.
Yeah, but you guys need to go, Dad, we're doing it for the money.
You know, there is the old adage, any pub is good pub.
I have heard that.
But then again, let's tell that to United Airways once
Right.
again. Well,
Yeah.
$8 million
Kyle Busch
loss in
said-
one day.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch said, I don't mind if they boo. They're doing something.
yeah. Yep. And he's been in the sponsors boardroom a couple of times with his hand between his tail between his legs and his hat in hand. So maybe that's not the best analogy there. If any pub is good pub.
Yeah.
All right, girls. Best of luck this year. Make sure you follow them on Facebook. We'll share their pages. I know you two have your own page, Mariah and Chantel both. See, I thought I said it wrong, but then I was like, no, wait, I did it right. You guys both have your own individual pages, or do you have a page together?
Individual.
Yep.
Okay.
We have Facebook racing pages, and I think we're gonna make a website.
Okay.
Oh.
Websites, they still make those?
Yeah.
Do you
That's
have
what I said.
Please tell me you have a MySpace page.
No.
You should get one.
They were
For
way
retro.
before MySpace.
Let's bring it back. Vinyl's coming back. Bell bottoms are coming back. Let's bring back MySpace.
You're like, what is MySpace?
Freaking Tom. Tom and everybody liking him. You guys wouldn't know what that is. Anyways.
No.
I see Dirk's in this void where, Shayle, I think you and I know what MySpace was. Dirk was too old for it.
Oh, I have a MySpace.
Yeah, I think
I
mine's
don't know
still
if
active.
I can get in, but I have one.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back in turns 2 and 3. Chad Rob's going to join us for conversations about things we've noticed in the 2017 NASCAR season, and we'll take some trips around the headlines. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Need a reason to be at Kansas Speedway when NASCAR returns on May 13th? Here's some. Reason number 18, the friction fueling phenom Kyle Busch. Reason number 48, 7-time champ Jimmy Johnson versus 14, Kansas's own Clint Boyer, grinding and battling at 180 miles per hour. Kinda hits you right in the adrenaline maker. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Go Bowling 400, live, Saturday night, May 13th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 3, brought to you by Menards NHRA Heartland Nationals, presented by Manatees at Heartland Park in Topeka on May 19th, 20th, and 21st. Get your tickets today by calling 1-800-884-NHRA or by going to heartlandpark.com. Have you guys all seen the video of that Australian guy that saw his first drag race? And he's sitting there eating his chips, and all of a sudden it fires, and he just looks like somebody shot him or something. It's absolutely hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
I'll have to post that on the page.
I shared it a couple of years ago, but it popped up again in my timeline, so I watched it.
Oh, memory thing, probably.
I just keep laughing every time. It's the funniest thing, and I got to imagine that's what I would look at if I went to the Heartland Nationals.
That guy probably found out that he was booked on United Airlines to get home.
Oh, yeah. Joining us in the studio, Mr. Fantasy Chad Robb of FantasyRacingTips.com. Chad, good to have you back.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show.
Been a couple of weeks since you've been back. We've done 7 races since I think we had you on before Daytona or the week before Daytona.
Yeah, right before Daytona and then again, I think afterwards.
Yeah, you came back to talk about the West Coast swing that included Atlanta. It's a Western.
And
anyways,
Martinsville.
Yeah. And so we've now had 7 races. So I wanted to kind of get us 3 back together. And Chad, from the fantasy side, I wanted to get a couple of things that you've noticed for the first 7 races of this year. Dirk, from kind of an official and a technical side of it, I wanted to get yours. And then I would kind of give my take on the first 7 races and things that have popped up that I wasn't expecting for 2017. So
well, that's good. We'll do you at the end in case we run out of time.
That's probably the best idea. Not well thought out. Unfactual statements.
Jimmy Johnson started tail end, Charlie.
I might as well be the press secretary for as much information as I give out. So, Chad, let's start with you. Statistically, you sent me a couple of things that you noticed for the 2017 season so far.
One of the things that really stands out is the young guns. These young drivers, everybody said that they were going to take a couple years to really pick up the sport. These guys are dominating right now.
Absolutely.
I think it has a lot to do with this new aero package that they're using, yeah.
And you're primarily talking about Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson?
Yes.
Anybody else in there I'm leaving out?
Eric Jones?
Yeah, he's doing well.
Yeah.
They're driving a car because they didn't know how to drive the other car. And we went through that, if you remember right, when we interviewed Justin Allgaier a couple years ago at Kansas.
Yeah.
He said the exact same thing because he had 1 year in the car and then they changed it. He goes, I wished I hadn't have driven last year.
Yeah.
Larson's driven in 3 different aero packages now.
Yep.
So he's adapting well, but it could be because that aero package is coming into what he's used to coming from the sprint car world.
I was going to say something loose.
That back end hanging out a little bit, hitting the as Michael Waltrip would call it, that dirt mound, otherwise known as the cushion in dirt talk.
The berm.
but yeah, the young guns are on fire this year.
And another thing that plays into it is the stage racing, because these young drivers, they were always brought up to go at it, as hard as they can. These drivers like Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, they're the drivers that work their car over the race.
Yeah.
They're not going to be there at the midway point, but at the end of the race, they're going to be there.
Yeah.
And they've said it a million times. So I just kind of rode along out there, and especially when, they've blown up or they got caught in a crash somewhere. It's just out riding around till the end.
Yeah. The stage racing is I think, very interesting thing. But what's another one that you wanted to kind of cover?
Well, one of the things, this is my pet peeve. This has been really making me upset the last couple of weeks, is this cat and mouse game that NASCAR and the teams have been playing in inspections before the qualifying. I think they need to get something done with this.
With the teams opting not to qualify?
Well,
and then not passing pre-qualifying inspection?
With them having 3 hours to get through qualifying, and they can't get through because the teams are trying to cheat, and NASCAR is, inspecting the cars down to the 100th of an inch, and something's got to give. They got to get these cars through qualifying, so we could get a good race where you don't have your best drivers starting 35th and back.
I kind of like it because I always love an inverted field. I love that. I think we should find a way to invert every field because that makes the first 40, 50 laps of the race a lot more interesting. But
it's great for you. It's terrible for me because my job is to predict these races. Yeah. And it's hard to predict that Jimmy Johnson's going to win the race when he's starting dead last.
Well, and apparently he didn't start dead last.
Yeah, he qualified. He went through the first round of qualifying and made the top 24 and started 24th.
I thought I'd reported, and I thought that he'd started tail end Charlie because I thought I heard Fox say that several times.
Unless they moved him for the back for some unapproved adjustments, but he qualified 24th.
Yeah,
he changed the tires on his car, and that's why they moved him.
So he went to the back with a tire.
Yeah, because when he spun out, he flat spotted the tires, so they made him. He chose to change the tires, and they put him to the back.
Yeah, and those that qualifying inspection thing, I think Texas was a real point. I thought NASCAR would nip it in the butt earlier when this happened a couple of races ago, but it happened again at Texas. I think there was, there were 8 or 9 guys that didn't qualify?
Yeah, it was something like that. I mean, it was pretty close. There wasn't quite – I think it was a couple more than California. Mm-hmm. But you didn't see it at Martinsville.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you don't want to run from the back at Martinsville. You're not going to get anywhere there. You got too big a danger going lap down. So everybody made sure and got through tech. But also, Martinsville, aero don't matter.
Yeah.
Very little aero matters there. And NASCAR's got their new policy this year on their teching. They do not do – it used to be you had to tech and you had to pass tech before you could ever go practice. Mm-hmm. NASCAR has gone away from that. They do an engine inspection and a safety inspection, but they don't go through the room of doom or any of that stuff, no templates or anything. All NASCAR's figuring is they'll police themselves because if they go out with a car that's so illegal and, tear practice up and then come back and got to change the car way too much, they won't know what they've got for the race.
Yeah.
But
and if you get caught post-race, that's a pretty severe penalty. You lose your crew chief for 3 races. You typically lose 35 owner points and 35 driver points. And good luck. I mean, that's who lost that a couple of weeks ago. AJ Allmendinger lost 35 points. He lost more than a race and a half worth of points when he failed post-race inspection. Or was that post-race? Or was
I think it was for not having a lug nut.
Yeah, it was lug nuts.
Yeah, it was a lug nut issue.
So that's a severe penalty.
He didn't have 17. He was missing a couple lug nuts. He didn't have 17 lug nuts.
One is 10,000. I think 2 is
2 and 3.
And then he had anyways, it was a lot of lug nuts. What is the advantage? Are these teams, because we're always a little bit behind what these teams are scheming and doing. what is the advantage to these teams not qualifying and starting in the back? Do they have fresher tires?
That's the only advantage.
Yeah, you have to start the race on the tires that you qualify on. So if you choose not to qualify, you start the race on fresh tires.
Yeah,
anywhere from 2 to 6 or 8 laps, depending on what the guy attempted.
And so we go back to police this. Let's say NASCAR comes out and says, okay, if you don't qualify, you don't race. But that just return hurts NASCAR, because imagine if Jimmy Johnson hadn't been able to race this weekend, Kyle Busch, there's a couple of top dogs that do this, that if they come out and say the new rule is that if you don't qualify, you don't race, it just hurts fans in seats.
You're not going to see that happen. NASCAR's not going to cut their own throat. They're struggling as it is right now. And actually, to let a few of those guys start in the back's got to be some great racing. Now, it backfired on Jimmy Johnson in California when he got into the deal with Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick early in the race, and he wouldn't have been back there if he had qualified.
Right.
So I don't see NASCAR doing anything about this. It's those guys take their own risk. Like I said last week, you run with the squirrels every once in a while in the back, you're going to get your nuts cracked.
Dirk, let's talk about a couple of the things you've noticed these first 7 races for the 2017 season.
As I've said again and again and again and again and again on Facebook and here, is I don't like the caution laps between the segments. There's too many. If they can do this deal in 3 caution laps, then let's roll. But if they're going to take 8 to 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 laps every time, they need to not count those laps. They need more green flag laps racing, not just rolling around out there, idling around. That's doing nothing. That's not creating any excitement. Now, the segments I'm fine with, especially the way it went at Martinsville, that second segment when Stenhouse gave Kyle Busch a bump and took him out of winning the segment and let Chase Elliott win it, but, kept him on the lead lap. You're going to see that at the short tracks. You're not going to see that at Texas, but the guys were still racing hard to get that extra point. The end of that second segment at Texas, back there from like 7th to 12th, man, those guys were really battling, and they were driving hard.
Yeah.
So that part I don't mind. The other deal was like Chad just mentioned, this non-qualifying thing. I don't see NASCAR doing anything about it, but I think the only thing NASCAR may do is you may see something come up. If you don't qualify this week, you don't get to qualify next week. That would mean these guys aren't going to be qualifying at Richmond or something like that. The guys that didn't qualify out in California wouldn't have got to qualify for was it Martinsville that was after California?
Yep.
And that would have hurt people.
Yeah. Let's go back to your caution laps. I don't have a problem with it. I think the problem that I have with it is that it's taking longer than NASCAR expected between the stages, and I think that's the big issue. In a 335-lap race, I really honestly don't care if 20 of them are spent under caution. I would much rather, because I'm a big proponent of speeding these things up, that things need to get done a lot faster, and if we're not counting caution laps between stage races, we're extending the life of the race.
Drop the race a few laps then.
I would be fine with that. I wouldn't have. I'm not a big fan of NASCAR coming out and saying, okay, we're no longer going to count the stage races, but we're going to keep it the same length. Then I'm like, well, you just added 30 minutes to the end of the race, and it's tough enough to get these races in under 3 hours, which is kind of that magic number for a sports event. If you can't get your sport event in under 3 hours, you're going to start losing fans. We had this big issue with the Chili Bowl, and we're going to have it again this year when the late model nationals go down to, or the late models go down to the Dome down in St. Louis. What was that race?
I don't remember.
I think it was the Dirt Nationals, but you got to have your races done in 3 hours.
Absolutely.
Period. Weekly racing has to be like that. Specials have to be like that. And NASCAR, I think, is starting to get they're starting to understand that the TV time is way too long. There's way too much, and so I would be all about them cutting down the length of the races. I really don't have a problem with them counting them right now because they need to get rid of as many laps as they can, and I think this is kind of one of those ways of cycling through them. But to get in everything that they're trying to get in with these stage races, I mean, remember, the whole idea was to increase the amount of restarts, almost guarantee the amount of restarts.
Well, no,
and to give the networks,
big thing was more racing is what the big thing was.
And to give the networks set times to go to commercial. It's commercial breaks. It's so that the network knows when they can go to commercial so that they stop missing battles for the lead, which they have still done this year for crying out loud. But anyways,
Don't worry, Fox is almost done.
Why don't they just go to the 20-minute clock like they had in the Truck Series?
I don't think that's had as big of an impact in the Truck Series as they were expecting.
Well, and they did it 1 year and then they quit. It doesn't happen anymore. Yeah. I think that they should try literally take a race, pick 3 races or whatever. They do it with the aero package.
Yep.
They have the last couple of years.
it.
We're going to try these aero packages at these 3 races. Why don't they try something like they did with the Xfinity Series when they ran the heat races? We're going to run this 50-lap race, and that's going to set the inside row. We're going to run this 50 laps and set the outside row, and then we're going to go out and race for 100 laps.
I would be all about the caution clock coming out at tracks that are typical long green flag tracks.
Such as Texas.
We've seen it at Kansas before, too, where we've gone, 160, 170 laps without a caution, and before you know it, there's only 8 guys left on the lead lap. I would be all about a caution clock at those places.
Well,
there are other places like Martinsville, the short tracks that don't need it.
If JJ would have pushed it last week, there would have been 3 cars left on the lead lap.
Yeah.
There would have been 2 cars left on the lead lap. The third place car was 27 seconds back for the last 20 laps. And that was because JJ just went out and drove around, made sure he had enough gas. Everybody was kind of coasting there for a little bit at the end, except Kyle Larson, who was driving like a madman and coming through the field.
Yeah.
And Ryan Blaney was also coming through the field. But, if Johnson would have kept running and run hard, there'd have been just 2 cars on the lead lap at the end.
Let's take a break. I want to come back and talk about your second point, and then we'll cover a couple of mine. We'll cover some NASCAR headlines, and then we'll wrap up the show. We'll be back here on the Front Stretch.
The NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series is headed back to Topeka. Feel the power that calls the senses with 10,000 horsepower at speeds over 330 miles per hour. Every ticket's a pit pass at the Menards NHRA Heartland Nationals, presented by Minties, May 19th through 21st at Heartland Park, Topeka. Kids 12 and under are free in general admission. Get tickets early and save at nhra.com/tickets or call 800-884-NHRA. Ignite your senses.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shayle, Bade, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Just about ready to wrap this baby up, heading into turn number 4, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. Again, they're closed today. They'll be back open tomorrow. Mondays are always kids' nights, where kids can eat for 99 cents with an adult entree purchase. And they have all different kids stuff going on. So get over to Quaker Steak and Lube, and we're just a couple of weeks away from the opening of Bike Night and the opening of Classic Car Night, 2 of my favorite events throughout the entire summer.
Opening night at Eagle Raceway.
Oh yeah, that's going to be this Saturday. Yeah, they were supposed to have. Again, we recorded earlier this week, and it looked like a lot of precipitation in the forecast. So who knows if they were able to get the Icebreaker Challenge in, but. This coming Saturday night, the opening up of weekly racing for IMCA at Eagle Raceway. And I was out there on practice last Saturday, the same Saturday as the Bug Eater Bash at I-80. And boy, is there a lot of B-mods, Sport Compacts, A-mods, and a lot of Race Savers. A lot of guys opened up those Race Saver packages this year.
Yeah, it's. The Race Saver is really catching on. The motors seem to be having pretty good life to them. They're not super expensive. They're really no more than a crate engine. And the guys, we're going to, talk a little bit about, with that. We talked earlier with Shayle about that. Yep. So, she obviously likes it. And plus, she's got her 360, got her first win, by the way. Congratulations to her on that B feature win there at I-80.
She looked good. She looked really good that night. And in that B feature, she struggled for the A feature, but there was a lot of heavy hitters out there that night.
Oh, yeah, it was a good field.
All right, continuing our conversation, Chad Robb of NASCAR FantasyRacingTips.com. By the way, get yourself a membership today to FantasyRacingTips.com. A lot of great information on there. Chad, you've started doing picks for people.
Yes, I did. I know you guys have the Pick'ems contest, and that's one of the things I just added to the site. I give out picks for like a one and done kind of situation, what you guys have, or if you have one of them leagues where you pick a driver, you can use him twice throughout the season. I also have picks for that too.
I love that. One of my favorite things about our league is the strategery that has to come into play when you can only pick a driver 3 times in the entire season. Because there's been times I've wanted to pick Brad Kay, but I've already taken him twice this year. I took him at Daytona, and then I took him again. I think it was at Las Vegas. He bit me both times. Hasn't worked out very well, so now I got to save the pick for the end of the year. But Dirk, we want to continue with our conversation. We're kind of talking about a couple of things that we've noticed through the first 7 races of the season. What's the second thing you noticed?
Well, like I said, the qualifying issue, and if that turns into something, the so-called new aero package that was going to be basically make the aero or the clean air in the front non-dependent is not doing that. I mean, the clean air is still clean air.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever going to change that until they take the splitter completely off the car. They've got the spoiler down to nothing, so they've loosened up the back end. They need to loosen the front end up a little bit. And, Carl Edwards told us when we interviewed him last year at Kansas, take all the splitters off, the spoilers off, and let's go race these things.
Yeah, absolutely. The 2 points that I've noticed, it's been very predominant for me this year. We have had very few debris cautions. The number of times they were running around there and all of a sudden you heard put it out, debris in turn 2 or whatever, and there'd be pieces of cars or there'd be trash bags or there'd be a squirrel, who knows, out there. But I think this damaged car policy has really helped a lot with cutting down the debris cautions. We've seen far fewer, so that way we're able to see a lot more action on the track.
Yeah, that's true, and I know they actually had a debris caution last week.
Yeah.
Which again was maybe the second one I can think of all year.
I
don't
remember.
got all that Barabond on these cars holding them together, so there's not stuff falling off of them.
And I haven't noticed that damaged car policy really affect a lot of guys. There's been people where you've been able to look at them on pit road and go, they're not coming back out. But it's not because of the damaged car policy. They weren't coming back out anyways.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, there hasn't been many cautions for wrecks this year, and I think that has to do with the talent level that's in the sport right now. These guys are so good they never wreck.
Yeah, I think that's another reason why NASCAR implemented the stage racing was because, first off, the equipment is just too good to be failing on a routine basis, and drivers are just too good to be wrecking on a regular basis. So NASCAR had to step in and say, okay, we're going to do some predetermined cautions.
But you got a 7-time champion that goes to Texas and forgets to take a water bottle into the cockpit with him.
Yeah, that was crazy.
No fluid. Yeah, that is
3 bags, 3 IV bags to rehydrate himself. That's pretty scary. The other point I noticed is that we've talked about it over the last year and a half, so I don't know if it's much to the first 7 races, but I've really noticed that NASCAR is open to a lot of changes. You've always told a story where it used to be, this is our sport, this is the way we're going to run it. If you don't like it, go run something else. But NASCAR seems very open now to saying, okay, listen, we got away in the mid-2000s from what everybody loved, and we tried something new and it didn't work. So let's figure out a way to take what we have with what you want and make it work.
Well, at least NASCAR's listening. I give everything a chance, and I've stated before, I don't like the chase format because at least now they're not calling it the chase anymore. They're calling the playoff because that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what it's been for 10 years.
Yeah.
The first several years, they didn't have the elimination factor, but that has added something to that format. Really has, in my book.
Yeah.
You see the guys are talking about it. The racers are talking about it. The people are talking about it. If Harvick don't win at Phoenix, he can't win the title, Well, you get guys like Ryan Newman who didn't win all year and run second. Almost did win the title. And if Harvick would have blown a tire or blown up, he'd have won the title.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody ever in the history of NASCAR had ever gone a full season and won a title without winning a race.
I don't believe so either. I believe most, to my knowledge, and again, it's pretty spotty and pretty shady, so I'd never heard of anybody winning a championship without a win.
Well, and Ryan Newman wouldn't have been able to do that either. He would have been He would have had to win the last race to win the title now,
right?
Even though he hadn't won a race through the first 35,
right?
But he was still there for the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
When we interviewed Brendan Gaughan over the winter, he loved it. Because he had the opportunity, even though, my car's not quite so good. I know, at the other day in the Xfinity race, he was driving as crazy at the end of the second stage trying to grab a couple points.
Yeah. And
I think he ended up 9th. And but it ended up costing him in the long run for the overall finish of the race. But it's like I said, now at the beginning, NASCAR's listening, and they're trying to do things. I mean, we've talked about it on our show a bunch, and they kept doing it. They did it several times on Sunday, is when they show that helicopter shot of the grandstands. God, quit doing that.
Yeah.
Empty grandstands don't need to be on the TV.
Yeah.
But those people that were at that race, and if you were a Jimmy Johnson fan and him coming from the back because of the tire change, you got to see an incredible drive.
Yeah, I think that we've reached the valley for NASCAR. A lot of things have changed to where it started to improve again, and I think it's going to take a year or two before the ticket sales start improving again and before the ratings start improving again. But I think the biggest hurdle that NASCAR has to now overcome, they're fixing the product on track. They have an amazing product at the track. When pre-race, post-race, all the stuff that's going on, we can't champion it enough. It's an amazing time if you go to one of these races, but the toughest thing for me as a consumer is paying for a hotel room that is 2 to 3 times as much as the ticket to get into the race.
But NASCAR cannot control that, unfortunately.
I think they can, because NASCAR owns all the tracks. All they have to do is open up a hotel chain.
Or buy them all.
No, there you go. Go out and buy the hotel chains. And I realize it's lost revenue, but they could bring it in together and say, okay, well, we're going to buy all this dwindling hotel chains, and we're going to put up as many of them as we can, and we're going to charge $50, or you're going to get discount hotel nights when you show your ticket to the next day's race, something like that.
Well, they've got a couple of those packages now. There's a couple, I don't want to call them tour companies because I've never really looked into them, but I know they're selling package deals.
Mm-hmm.
You come to the race, you get your motel rooms. If you have to fly in, you're going to have your shuttles from the airport. You're going to get hospitality stuff,
mm-hmm.
which is something me and Chad need to talk about here at the end of the show because I got a hookup for him. But, yeah, it's, they're somebody's trying to put that whole deal together because the motels aren't getting full either because that's keeping a lot of people away.
Yeah.
But when you got to pay $180 to spend a night at the Super 8 or the Motel 6,
the Super 8 off of exit whatever just outside of Newton, Iowa, like we have to spend for the Xfinity weekends. I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's infuriating. But to go back to my points, I think NASCAR is very open to change, and I would tell everybody that what we have right now, stand by, because I guarantee you that at the end of the year, there will be some tweaks to the way that the format, the stage racing is right now, the playoff system is right now. NASCAR's continuing to listen to what fans say, to what the networks say, to what sponsors say, to what drivers and teams are saying to find ways to make it better.
And you might see those tweaks come midsummer, They might come sooner than later. It might be something that they do a little tweaking here in about 6 weeks after the All-Star race.
Something I want to make sure and cover before we wrap up today's show. Speaking of the All-Star race, the format for this year was announced. It's not much of a difference from last year. We're going to do 3 20-lap stages. I got to get that segment word out of my head. We're going to do 3 20-lap stages and then a final 10-lap stage. It's only going to contain 10 cars. But the big change, and this was something we were talking about before we started today's show, is that teams are going to have the ability to use one set of softer tires at their discretion. The catch is, if they have that softer set on for the final 10 laps, they have to restart behind the teams that have harder sets on. You guys are both, Dirk, you're more technical than me, so you understand this a little bit. And Chad, I think you're a pretty technical guy about it. To me as a race fan, talk to me about softer and harder tires.
The softer tire is just plain and simple. It's going to have more grip, but in the same token as when you gain something, you got to give something up. The tires won't last.
Right.
It's basically like several years ago at Indianapolis when they were running 8 or 9 laps on a set of tires, and then they were having mandatory cautions because the tires wouldn't hold up. They're gonna eat up, they're gonna chew up. and they're not going to last. See, that's the thing we were talking about is, are they going to have a set of tires like that to practice with so they know how long they last? Are these tires designed to explode after 12 laps so they've got a 10-lap segment and hopefully there's no cautions?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole lot. Will the tires, one thing they would learn in practice is how they would cycle. So if they'll last 20 laps and they put them on, they get a chance to pit with 5 laps to go in the second segment or the third segment, and then they've got them on to start the 10-lap segment, but they're already used tires. Are they going to get to start in front of the people that put them on new? Well, yes, they are, because they got other guys are going to have to pit.
Yeah.
So they're going to come out behind them.
The only way they'd have to start behind anybody is if it's for that final 10 laps. But like you're talking about, when you cycle those tires, when you put some heat in them, and then when they cool off, they create almost a crust, right?
Well, they kind of seal off, you know. I mean, and that top layer of rubber becomes hard. Everybody goes to the dirt track races. That's when you see these guys down in the pits grinding off that layer off these tires. You know, it's taken off the bad, so they're right back on, you know, basically a new set of tires when they go back out for their feature or whatever.
And it'll be interesting to see what they call the good is on those tires. And like you said, how long will that good last? It's going to be a big strategic question mark that a lot of it will be answered if they allow these teams to practice on that tire ahead of time.
I really hope they don't let them practice.
Me too.
Because I want it to be unknown.
Yeah.
I want the teams to, you know, go out there and say, man, I don't know if this is going to last, you know, 10 laps, 15 laps.
Yeah.
You know, but if they go out there and they let them practice, they're going to know how long these tires are going to last and everything. And it's going to kind of defeat the whole purpose.
Yeah, I think it will defeat some of the strategy in it, but then it'll also play into other ones because I heard before, I hope and pray there is a caution in that third stage with about 10 to go, because then crew chiefs are going to sit there and go, can these softer tires last for 20 laps? Can they last through a cycle when they cool them down and heat them back up? What can these tires do? If they know the information, it'll still be tough, and then it'll also be interesting to see if there'll be some teams out there that'll start on these softer tires if they can last for 20 laps, because if I could start on softer tires and get a big old lead in stage 1, lock myself in, then I've got harder tires. I'm guaranteed to start on the front row. Softer tires start behind me. Maybe that's the way I go. Maybe I lock myself in early into the final 10 laps.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if anybody tried that, because as the All-Star race goes, usually if there's cautions, it is usually right at the start of the very start of the race, because these guys know that at the end of that first segment they're going to drop off 3 or 4 guys, you know, so they drive like crazy to make sure they don't get cut off. So I'd be very surprised if anybody runs the soft tires right off the bat.
Do you know if they're going to be using these softer tires in the qualifying races for the, you know, they have those, I think there's 2 races before the All-Star race where everybody that didn't qualify for the All-Star race gets a chance to race their way in?
They never said anything about it, so I don't know.
Because it would be interesting if they use them. I mean, those crew chiefs are going to be glued to the TV to see what happens in that race.
Well, if they all get one set, then the teams racing in that race should have one set. You know, now obviously the guy leading it isn't going to want to use them, because he's going to move into the regular All-Star race. If he's going to advance, he's not going to want to put them on.
Yeah.
But there might be another guy that's running 5th or 6th and says, well, I can throw these on for these last 5 laps and maybe go ahead and get into that All-Star race.
I mean, if you're like a Michael McDowell, and, you know, you got a chance of finishing maybe 5th in that qualifying race, well, I might as well use my softer tires and try to finish first. And that's the type of team I think could, you know, pull the trigger. And
I can't imagine they're going to let them use those softer tires the night before, because
it's not the night before. It's the same night. They run all the races in one day.
Okay, excuse me. That same. I think it's just for the All-Star race that they're going to use those tires, but I could very well be wrong, because NASCAR never said one way or the other in their statement, in their press release for this. But it'll be interesting to see. So 3 20-lap stages. All the qualifying drivers will be out there. Whoever wins stage 1, 2, and 3 will be locked into the 4th 10-lap stage. After that 3rd stage, they'll drop off all but the 10 drivers, and then we'll go out there for 10 laps, and we'll go at it, and we'll see who can win it. I've never been a big fan of the All-Star race, especially I think over the last 10 years, it just has kind of lost something for me. I'm kind of interested to see how this works. I like this softer tire, and I would love to see if it's a success, how quickly they implement it. If they implement it for 2017, if they try to get it in there quickly, or if they wait until 2018 to put it into effect.
Well, I just, unless they're going to, when are you going to try and use the tires? Everybody would hold on to that tire until the last pit stop if they had to stop with, 8, 10, 15 laps. That's what I'm saying.
If they use it, I think it'll be at Kentucky and Michigan because those are races that aren't in a chase.
Mm-hmm.
And
test tracks.
Yeah, those are the races that they always test different packages out.
All right, we appreciate you stopping by, Chad. Always do like having you in the studio. FantasyRacingTips.com. What do you got planned for Easter Sunday?
Going out with the family, getting some grub. That's about it.
All right, I'm heading down for a long Easter and then a birthday today at back home in Red Oak. So, what do you got going on, Dirk?
Probably sleeping is, it's kind of a favorite pastime of mine, and I just don't seem to get anywhere near enough of it anymore. Yeah. And but no, I will definitely eat my fill and get myself into a food coma and take a nap.
My biggest tradition on Easter is to watch the 10 Commandments. I love watching that show. I just watched the new Ben-Hur, so I'm going to go back and watch the original Ben-Hur and like the original better.
Do you pretend that this is like a Fox broadcast and turn the volume down and just watch it and not listen to it? Or?
No, I actually do enjoy it. I don't have to turn off the Fox broadcast for this because I think it's a CBS property. But I like for some reason, I'm not a big fan of old movies, but I like the 10 Commandments. There's something about it. I just like the action and a little bit of conversation and the style of writing.
Just think if they remade that now with all the digital effects. I mean, they parted the Red Sea.
They did just remake it, actually.
Oh, did they?
It starred Christian Bale. It wasn't it was a pretty different take on it, and they called it was Gods and Kings, I believe. Egypt, Gods and Kings. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. But it has to be a conversation for another day or sometime in person. But I liked the new version. I prefer the 10 Commandments, probably just because that was always my tradition thing, was on Easter night, was watch the 10 Commandments, and then Mom and Dad would always wake me up for the parting of the seas, because that always came on at like 9:45 after my bedtime.
Well, the original 10 Commandments was, I believe, made in the late 60s.
That's the one, yeah. It was the most expensive movie made at that time and had the largest set of extra. I've read all this stuff on it. It was 6 months behind schedule. It was, percentage over budget. The company was threatening to shut it down, and they, for some reason, they decided to keep it. It was a huge profit and a huge victory for him, and it started a whole spur of all these movies. But there was a Charlton Heston version. Right. I loved that movie.
But I mean, just the special effects of parting the Red Sea. Just think what that took to make back in '67.
Yeah.
And it was so real. I've seen the movie. It's just like anything else you see, like from the 70s or something. I watched the original Rocky the other day, and the makeup and stuff is so horrendous. But back then, it was
groundbreaking.
Lifelike,
And it's amazing now with HD TV how much you notice now that you didn't notice back then, because makeup back then probably looked okay because the graphics were so terrible that you couldn't even tell. Yeah. Now you can see individual lines on people's faces, and
it wasn't 120 hertz; it was 2 hertz, and it wasn't 1080p; it was 8p.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We'll be back next weekend. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the full show plus probably the extended version on YouTube at about 10 a.m. this morning. Next weekend, Wayne Q joins us to talk about the Good Old Time Racing Association getting their season kicked off. We're also going to work on getting Corey Dumpert and Danny Lasowski, Luke Cochran, Nick Woodard, a couple of guys around the area on the show, and doing some interviews. So for Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. Chad, always do appreciate you joining us. If you want any racing tips, head to FantasyRacingTips.com. Chad's got a great website to help you out there.
Happy Easter, everybody.
We'll be back next weekend to do it all over again on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
NASCAR returns to Kansas Speedway May 13th. Here's some reasons to be there. Reason number 88, Dale Flippin Jr. Enough said. Number 2, Keselowski-style cold ones are always BYOB. Reason 78, your memory of Martin Truex Jr. will be both crystal clear and a blur. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Go Bowling 400, live, Saturday night, May 13th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com.
The official watering hole of the Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.